Hello everyone out there. It has been quite a while since last uploaded a video. I think maybe the longest break I've ever taken on this channel on Touch Fire Twice. Still not super active, but still active over on The Gentleman Next Door, my newer channel, which is actually at this point going on almost 3 years old. But can't keep a candle fan down or away. So I made some purchases after being, again, very uninspired, like most, folks, with the collections at Bath & Body Works of the past really year, 2 years, but especially this past year with so much crap out there, like repackages, forget repackages, not even good things, just the same kind of junk over and over, and all of the things they've been doing with crazy labels and stealing people's intellectual property, and just across the board, it's been like really kind of a downhill trend at Bath & Body Works. But every once in a while they will either bring back something great or have a new scent that kind of wows us. And I still do purchase, still, really a fragrance fan, and figured it was time after quite an absence to come back and review a couple of things. We're all settled in our new home, so I actually now have access to my full collection, which for about a year and a half, almost a little over a year, didn't really have much access to, because I was living with family. Fabrice and I were with family. So doing reviews, the big thing I've always done is the kind of sniff comparison and review, or what do I always call it? In-depth sniff review comparison. I don't know. The point is smelling old stuff and comparing it to the new stuff and seeing like, what's it like? What is it similar to? If we love something that's not back, does this take its spot? And usually the answer is no, but it's, for someone who loves to sniff and figure things out, it's kind of a fun investigation or mystery to solve. So at the $8.95 candle day, a couple weeks back, I did purchase 5 or 6 candles. As you see here, Pomelo Pine, grabbed the eggnog candle, a pink petal tea cake, a bubblegum, chill, spruce and lavender, and that may have mostly been it. I wanted to review some of them for you here today and do some comparisons because there's some interesting new stuff. There's some returning that's a question of what is it and what do we think of it. So I wanted to come back and, tell you my thoughts. So what we have before you, gosh, I wish these ones over here I purchased at the $8.95 candle day. These are really from almost my, I hate to say like my no burn part of the collection, but there are some that it's really hard to burn because they are so wonderful and so great, and really hope that they'll come back, knock on wood someday. But wanted to compare this newest one you see on the left here, Pomelo and Pine, with a couple of old favorites, because I know that a lot of folks really don't really have much to say about Pomelo and Pine. I think it's kind of boring and basic, and I can see where, on first sniff, it's nothing to say, oh my gosh, I need to stock up, but there's something about it that I actually really like, and I haven't burned it yet, but wanted to really compare it because I was getting hints of maybe winter garland you see there, maybe hints of some holly wreath, which, the Show 78, the Bronze Blogger, myself, we always joke around the holy trinity of Slatkin & Co. Christmas candles, winter garland, holly wreath, and vanilla spice, the 3 that they refuse to bring back but are like the best of the best blends you could ever find. And so, getting anything kind of near that in the realm of those scents is a win. So wanted to talk about Pomelo Pine because, again, I think I actually really like it, but, hard to say once you burn it. Back in the day, I was very confident that it always used to be what it smells like when you buy it. It's going to smell when it's burning. Lately, I've found every once in a while there will be something where it's a little bit different, or notes come out that really you don't get when you first sniff it. So, your mileage may vary. But let's talk about Pomelo Pine. This collection, their collections are rarely cohesive any longer, but this collection I really do enjoy. This, I suppose this is a label, but it's really on there very well that it almost seems as if it's, it's just a label, but it's on there really, really tightly. It almost feels like it's like screen printed onto it. And it's got these gold diamonds, very kind of Art Deco, really nice, like, what is that, tough, what's it called? Not taceted. Faceted? No. Puffed? You know what I'm talking about? Where like a couch or something when it's like that with like little buttons. Very, Rockefeller Center, 1930s Art Deco. Love that. Most of the scents in the collection are complete crap. But this one, Pomelo Pine, interested me. Now the notes on here, for the few notes they're willing to give us, are white pomelo, which essentially is a grapefruit, juicy mandarin, a form of an orange, balsam pine, and cinnamon bark. Now, cinnamon bark, that should mean that it's going to be different than, a bakery cinnamon or a red spice cinnamon. Cinnamon bark may be a little earthy, a little darker, a little richer, and not quite as vibrant probably as a true, the cinnamon that we're used to, the ground cinnamon. So let me sniff this and then I'll compare and I'll talk about why I have these four out here. It's not to show them off, it's because I really do think there's some similarities here. Yeah, I really like this. I think some folks have kind of written it off as just, it is some citrus and pine, but we've seen citrus and pine, the alpine cheer and, many things over the years that were just, even last year, like the hollyberry balsam, fruit and pine, and they don't really go over well, which again, burning, maybe this will be different, but right now, smelling it, I really get sort of I almost thought initially, as you see there, the holly wreath or a sweater weather, they don't call out eucalyptus or juniper. So I suppose it could be the balsam and maybe a bit of the cinnamon bark almost, but for me, I get a bit of that conceptual, it's kind of, you're outdoors. There's that feeling of like a rush of chill to it, which I think is interesting. And then as far as the citrus goes, it is in there. I wouldn't call out grapefruit or mandarin specifically. More of like an orange essential oil or orange rind kind of that you get in the winter, which is why I'm comparing it to winter here in a second. So, and cinnamon bark, I didn't get it at first glance, but you see I have that cinnamon pine cone down here because I do want to compare it to that because that does have a muted kind of earthy cinnamon in it as well. This is strong. It's not as complex and nuanced as the candles here on the right from, these are all 2011, except this one here is 2016. But there's something going on that I find interesting. So first I thought, let's see. First I thought, oh man, I know it's not winter garland, but it reminded me a bit of that. So I wanted to kind of compare it. So here's, boy, oh boy, if only they would bring that back. It's my last, I never was one of those people like they have on Instagram now where there's folks getting 20 or 30 of candles. Even when I loved it, I think the most I ever had was maybe 2 or 3 of this one. And this, of course, was cranberry champagne, blood orange, balsam, mandarin, and white cedar. So you got the balsam and the mandarin as well as orange. So you've got kind of a couple of the same notes that are in the pomelo pine. Oh, boy. Of course, smelling this, you really do get that cranberry champagne. It's the cranberry mixed with the citrus, mixed with the balsam, and then the kind of sweet, earthy cedar. Just the most classic, beautiful Christmas scent. So quickly realized, yeah, not that, but you've got similarities when you've got the citrus and the pine in there. So we go back to then, or over to rather, holly wreath, because I thought, could it be kind of like that? Because holly wreath definitely has, as we see here, you've got some eucalyptus, you've got juniper, cinnamon bark, like they say there, and citrus. So I'm like, okay, cinnamon bark, citrus, we're 2 for 4 there, and I definitely felt that kind of outdoors, very bright and astringency that you get from juniper and eucalyptus. But smelling the holly wreath, now granted, this sucker is from 2011, and being that old and never lit and having been in storage for 16 months, I do think that there's maybe been some transfer of scent from the other candles to this lid. So it's hard to say this is exactly what I remember it smelling like, but there's a sweetness actually in this one. I'm not sure what it's from, almost a fruitiness that I don't get in the pomelo pine. I suppose it could be from juniper berries, hard to say, but again, similar as far as the feeling that it evokes, but holly wreath, step above. And then talking actually to Fabrizio, he said, well, what about winter? And I thought, if it was winter, I would know it. This is actually kind of a good story here. Everybody knows Scent My Way, Karen, my friend who got me into candles in the first place, so blame her for the addiction. Back in Christmas of 2009, we went and we bought, she was already, purchasing and had her channel. Or no, she didn't. She was purchasing, but she didn't have the channel for a couple of years. But we picked up Fireside, Twisted Peppermint, Winter, I think Tree or Frosted Tree, one of the old, really nice evergreens, Fresh Balsam probably as well. And it was in the perfect Christmas collection. Now this is truly a screen printed. This is not a label. Cannot scratch it off. It was part of the beautiful collection here with a little bit of plaid and then this silver. This was literally one of the first candles I ever purchased. I must have got 2 of them because I didn't light it. And at this point, I almost can't burn it because, I mean, A, I love the packaging, and B, it's like, for me, it's kind of special because it was literally one of the first candles I purchased. This is before they even put the notes on there. And again, this is poured back in mid-2009, back when they were 1950. How about that? That's kind of crazy, right? Anyhow, winter. This smells as we've always known it. You've got some mandarin kind of rind in it. You've got a hit of cinnamon. You've got a good bit of kind of winter white woods. The full mix of across the board. You've got your pines, you've got your cinnamon, you've got your citrus all mixed together. With this, I will say these are real close in kind of in the. Not to be like repackaged with a twist, but just very close in kind of the execution of what they are. So sniffing the 2, it's a little more one note, but they are very related. It's almost as if winter is, everything winter. From you got the conceptual outdoor, you have the woods, you have the sparkling citrus, you've got, again, some sort of eucalyptus or juniper in there, I think, though I don't know if they've ever put it in the notes officially, but you definitely have that kind of whoosh of a chill, like some of the other candles that have eucalyptus or juniper in them. This is again, I'd say this is a sort of almost toned down, but I mean, they are very, very similar, except I think this is probably a little more solitary on the pine, where it's not the mix of winter woods and the balsams and like everything put together. This is a little bit more of a single note of the pine, which is probably the balsam here, and a little more single note of the citrus. So again, they've got it right in saying pomelo and pine, in the sense that it is a citrus and a pine, which I do enjoy. Finally, though, I was like, there's something else in this, and I think somebody had mentioned cinnamon pine cone at some point, which I love this. Failed test scent. Don't know why it didn't go wide. This was listed as pine, cinnamon bark, cedar, and juniper. So when I was first sniffing that pomelo and pine, I was thinking cinnamon bark, pine, or balsam, and juniper. But, oh boy, with this one, the cinnamon bark really is prevalent as a primary note. And it is, kind of what it shows here. It really is a warm cinnamon, almost leaning a bit towards the spiced red cinnamon, but more so on the bark. At the same time, there are parts of that you do get in this one, much, much lower level, but there's a little bit of similarities just in, again, taking 1 or 2 parts of the cinnamon pine cone into here. Like the pine is very similar. The cinnamon, not quite so much. I'd almost say the cinnamon in the pomelo and pine is closer to the cinnamon bark that we've gotten in the holly wreath. So what is the long meandering point of the video? Generally, I would say that I really do like this. Again, I'm gonna have to light it to check, to see ultimately what I feel about it. Is it any of these? No. Is it as good as any of those? No. But again, it's putting it side by side with them, it's not that far off as far as the fragrance category at bare minimum that you'd put it into. So, pomelo and pine, I would say, kind of final verdict as I've done my typical blabbing. It's really like if you take winter, bring down the complexity, turn up the pine, and what, again, I feel there's some sort of juniper, something in there that gives it a little bit more of the heaviness that you get from like a fresh balsam candle, and maybe that's it. Maybe there's some of the fresh balsam blend in here, but with a definite hit of a semi-sweet rind of a citrus. So I like it. I at least like that they're going into this direction to some extent beyond the boring stuff they've been doing. So I'd like to see more in that direction, but at the same time, why recreate perfection when they could just bring back winter garland, holly wreath, and even the cinnamon pine one here, really nice. But again, anything's possible. They're bringing back the Sweet Shop collection from 4 years ago for the semi-annual sale. So if that's possible, why can't they dig a few more further years back in the vault and bring back some of these other good ones? Time will tell if it's going to be possible. But that is my review on Pomelo Pine. The next couple of videos, I've got at least 2 or 3 here to go for you. They will not be as long and drawn out because, let's face it, the candles aren't quite as complex. And also, I've got my story of why I'm back here in the first video. So, as always, please do comment below. Love to hear what you guys think. Do check out, please, I'd love for you to join me over on my other channel, The Gentleman Next Door. We just moved into our new home, and we're super excited. We're kind of relaunching the channel because it was a little quiet over the past year or so as we were, getting our new life together into our new home. So, until next time, take care, and we'll be talking to you. Bye.